Have you ever wondered why some people behave so contradictorily when they are in love? There are moments when everything seems clear to you, obvious, unmistakable. There is love. And yet, there are small gestures, pauses, or silences that make you doubt. But what if I told you that the deepest form of love, the one that comes from the unconscious, that even the person themselves does not fully recognize, shows itself in tiny actions that often go unnoticed? Carl Jung devoted a large part of his life to understanding the human soul, the invisible connections, the emotions that cannot always be put into words, but profoundly influence our decisions. And when someone is truly in love, even without being consciously aware of it, their soul often reveals it long before their mind understands. This man, who may confuse you with his silence, his restraint, or his sudden closeness, could be much more deeply in love with you than he himself realizes. Because love does not always follow logic and clear words. Sometimes it flows through dreams, through glances he gives you without even noticing, or through the way his behavior changes, and only with you. Jung said, "What does not come into consciousness appears in life as fate." And that also applies to love. If he is not yet aware of his feelings, his soul is already acting on his behalf. But how can you recognize if he is truly in love? What signs does his unconscious, his heart, his deepest emotions send, even if he does not speak them? This is not a superficial analysis. I will not talk about text messages or romantic cliches. We will dive into what Jung called symbols of the soul, into the expressions of a man when something within him begins to vibrate the moment you are near him, even if he himself does not fully understand it. And before we begin, I ask you to look very closely, Pamar, because we often make the mistake of waiting for big words, gestures, or promises, and overlook the most valuable thing, the way someone changes inside when you enter their life. Jung taught, true love is not planned, not made. It appears like an unstoppable force that tears down our walls and connects us with the most essential part of ourselves. So open your intuition, your sensitivity, and pay attention to the following. If this man shows even one of these behaviors, if you have seen him react this way, then he is deeply moved by you, and probably much more in love than his rational mind is willing to admit. I will show you these signs one by one, from the most subtle to the most obvious. Stay until the end, because this understanding will not only help you recognize love on a deeper level, but also heal many doubts that may have long lived in your heart. It is not just about knowing whether he loves you, but about recognizing how the soul responds to true love. When a man is deeply touched by a feminine presence that changes him, his behavior begins to transform in a way he cannot control, and the first great sign shows itself in his attention, not in the obvious attention that wants to impress or seek validation, but in something finer, more genuine. He begins to notice details that others would never see. How do you really feel, even when you say, "I'm fine"? Have you changed your hairstyle even though you didn't mention it? Does your voice sound somehow different? This kind of attention does not come from superficial interest, but from a deep inner connection. Jung believed that true emotions are projected so that we can recognize them. And that is exactly what is happening here. This man reacts from his innermost being, not from calculation. He does not have to see you every day to think of you. He may mention you at moments when you least expect it, ask about things you have long forgotten, or simply appear without any particular reason. Not out of habit, but because his unconscious leads him to you. Something within him is already processing what his mind cannot yet grasp. This is not dependency, not obsession. It is emotional resonance. Your energy has touched something within him, and that something begins to speak without words. Another strong sign is how much he changes when he is with you. There are men who behave the same with every woman, but when a man is truly in love, even if he does not consciously know it, his demeanor toward you is different. He may show himself more vulnerable, more open, even clumsy. because true love does not seek perfection. It disarms, it makes one human, it makes one real. If he only drops his facade with you, if his silence is not uncomfortable but profound, then you are facing something that goes far beyond superficial interest. Jung said, "What the soul loves, it protects." This man may begin to care about you in ways that cannot be logically explained. He makes sure you are well, that you are not cold, that you do not go home alone, that you eat on time. It is not control, not ego. It is an inner feeling of emotional responsibility, as if his balance also depended on yours.
And when he cares in this quiet, devoted way without asking for anything, he has already welcomed you into his inner world, even if he neither says it nor fully understands it.
Therefore, when you see these signs, don't take them lightly. Don't be confused by his outward uncertainty. What happens inside him is much greater than it seems. What comes next are even deeper signals, the kind that only appear when the connection is truly real. There are moments when a man doesn't have to say anything because his energy already reveals everything. Perhaps there are no confessions, no promises, but something in his gaze, in his breath when you are near, or in his silent presence beside you, speaks louder than words. This silence is presence. It is soul connecting with soul. When a man is more in love than he admits to himself, his body speaks for him. Watch how he reacts when others talk about you. When someone praises you, notice his eyes. When someone criticizes you, observe his expression. Love doesn't need awareness to protect what it loves. Instinct takes over even when the mind cannot yet follow. Jung said, "The unconscious has its own ways." And often we are guided by feelings we cannot yet name. When a man reacts, even with just a glance, as soon as your name is mentioned, something inside him has already decided that you matter. And then there is the effort. When someone feels something real, they make an effort. It doesn't have to be grand gestures. It's enough how he listens, how he remembers something you once said, how he adjusts his time or apologizes when he believes he has wronged you. This quiet effort says more than 1,000 words, because someone who feels nothing does not move.
But someone who loves, even without understanding it, makes space.
Not to impress, but because his inner world is already changing to include you. And there is a sign that few notice. He begins to change even when you're not there. His routine changes. His thoughts drift. He seems more absent, more thoughtful. As if something within him had been activated without him knowing why. But you are there, present in his thoughts, in his feelings, in what used to be automatic and now is not. Jung spoke of the power of inner images that can change a person even without physical contact. And you, without intending to, have become such an inner image for him. Even if he doesn't say it, even if he denies it, you are already a part of him. So don't be deceived by the surface. Many men remain silent about what they feel, not because they lack feeling, but because it's hard for them to translate the language of the soul into the language of logic. And right there, if you are attentive, you can see deeper. You can perceive what he himself has not yet realized, that his heart has already made a decision. Stay with me, for there are more signs that reveal this quiet but powerful love. If you understand them all, you will see the complete picture, one that may forever change the way you understand love. There is a transformation that takes place in the heart of a man in love, one that is hardly noticeable at first. It is slow, almost invisible, but deeply powerful. This transformation shows itself when he begins to let go of certain behaviors that once felt natural to him. Perhaps he once feared commitment, perhaps he kept an emotional distance from people, or lived a comfortable solitude. But since you have been near, something stirs within him. It is no longer enough for him to think only of himself. In his mind and heart, a space opens that he would never have allowed before, and he does this not out of duty or sacrifice. It happens almost unnoticed, as if his soul were quietly adjusting to a new reality, one that calls him from within. Notice if he begins to share with you parts of his life that he shows no one else. Not trivial details, but intimate fragments of his story, his fears, his mistakes, his most hidden dreams. When a man opens himself to you on this level, he shows his humanity unfiltered. Not to appear perfect, but because he begins to trust you in a depth he has never experienced before. Then it is no longer about conquest or the game of seduction. It is about devotion. And this devotion, quiet as it may seem, is the clearest sign that something fundamental within him has changed. Jung said the soul needs a mirror to recognize itself, and you become that mirror. Through you, he doesn't just see you, he begins to see himself in a new light. There is another subtle, often overlooked sign: how he reacts to your emotions. Not everyone can handle the emotional depth of another person, but when a man is truly connected to you, he begins to unconsciously attune emotionally to you. He feels your joy and smiles with you, but he also becomes restless when he senses your sadness. Even if he cannot find the right words, his energy changes when yours does. He may not ask you directly if you are okay, but you will see it in his eyes, hear it in his softer voice, in the way he moves closer, even though he doesn't know what to do, only that he wants to do something. This quiet need to be with you, even when he doesn't know how, is one of the most genuine signs of unconscious love. And perhaps the most revealing thing of all is what happens when you are not there. Watch how he behaves when you're not around. Whether he mentions you in conversations, whether he keeps things for you that he wants to tell you later, whether you're the first person he thinks of when something happens. In those moments when there's no physical closeness, yet you remain present in his inner world, in his thoughts, in his feelings, then there's no doubt. He's more in love than he realizes, because what remains in absence is stronger than what is spoken in presence. And that's no coincidence. That's the language of the soul. All this has nothing to do with guessing games. It's about reading with the heart. Because often love doesn't come with words or certainties. It comes with signs that the soul sends when it begins to recognize another soul. Stay close, because what comes next will show you how love behaves when it can no longer be held back. There's a phase when a man, even without realizing it, begins to need your presence. Not out of habit, but as a form of inner balance. He doesn't express it with romantic phrases or planned declarations of love, but something in his energy changes every time you're not there. Maybe he doesn't say it directly, but you'll feel it. In his impatience when there's no message from you, in his sudden appearance just when you are about to let him go, in every excuse that serves only to be near you again, even if only for a moment. It's not obsession and not emotional dependence, but a genuine connection, one that arises so deeply that even he can't explain why he thinks of you so often. And that makes perfect sense from Jung's point of view, because the unconscious is not bound by logic or time. When a true emotion anchors itself there, it begins to show up in thoughts, impulses, and decisions. And one of the clearest ways this manifests is when that man starts to consider your opinion, even on things that don't directly concern you. Maybe he tells you about his future plans and asks what you think, not to impress you, but because it genuinely matters to him whether it aligns with you. Not out of calculation, but because you, quietly yet noticeably, have become a kind of inner compass. It may even be that he begins to tell you about his doubts and insecurities. Not because he sees you as a therapist or because he can't handle his feelings, but because his soul recognizes a safe place in you, someone with whom he can simply be himself, without masks, without tactics. And when a man reaches that point where he can open up emotionally, there are no more walls of protection, because true love doesn't arise from control or certainty, but from the possibility of being vulnerable without fear. This trust that he gives you, often unconsciously, is one of the purest forms of deep love. But what confirms everything is the moment when he begins to imagine his future with you, even though you never asked him to. You'll notice it when he talks about his dreams, and suddenly you're part of them. Maybe he says something like, "One day I'd like to travel there." And in that vision, you are silently included, not spoken but felt. Such small sentences, such spontaneous images are like open doors to his unconscious. Deep inside, you're already part of his path, not as a fleeting companion, but as an essential part of his ideal world. You don't need to push him or demand clarity, because when the soul loves, it shows it in the simplest gestures. And when his energy, his actions, his attention naturally begin to center around you, then what's growing between you is real, even if he doesn't understand it yet, even if he's not ready to say it aloud. Because when the soul has chosen, everything else is only a matter of time. And in that time, you can see with the eyes of the soul what the mind doesn't yet dare to say. Stay with me, because there's more to discover. When a man starts to look at you as if you're part of something he doesn't want to lose, his way of treating you begins to change. And this change isn't superficial. It's not that he suddenly becomes more affectionate or wants to see you more often. It's that his soul begins to reorganize its world around your existence. Because when a feeling is genuine, the other person is no longer perceived as an addition, but as an indispensable part of the whole. You'll recognize it in how he gives you priority, even if he doesn't say it. Maybe he's had a tiring day, maybe many things demand his attention, and yet he's there. Not out of obligation, but because he simply can't bear to leave you out. Because time with you, even in silence, brings him peace. And peace may be the most underestimated yet most important emotion in love. It's not just about feeling butterflies or excitement. True love, the kind that arises in the unconscious, the one Carl Jung recognized and studied as a transformative force, also reveals itself in the calm one feels near someone, where one doesn't need to be anything but oneself to be loved. When he feels peace in your presence, when he realizes he can take off his armor, that he doesn't have to be perfect to be accepted, then he begins to see you as home. Not a physical place, but an emotional refuge. And when that happens, he begins to do something many don't notice at first. He starts to align himself with you without you asking him to. Maybe he suddenly discovers joy in what you like. He becomes interested in your passions, your thoughts, in what moves you inside. It's not that he loses himself, rather he discovers how beautiful it is to share what's his. That's no coincidence. Jung described how inner boundaries soften when two souls resonate. And it's exactly there that true intimacy arises, not just desire, not just attraction, but that quiet sense of belonging that needs no explanation. Pay attention also to how he defends you when you're not around. Maybe you don't hear it, maybe you don't see it, but in small conversations, in moments when you're absent, he takes a stand for you. Not because he expects something in return, but because deep inside he feels. Protecting you means protecting something he has already begun to love. Love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply acts. Sometimes it speaks through gestures no one else notices. And that kind of love, the one that defends itself even in silence, is the most powerful of all. So if he changes his habits without consciously realizing it, if he protects you in secret, if he thinks of you before making important decisions, don't overlook it. You're facing an emotional truth that even he doesn't fully understand yet. And right there, in that space beyond fear, logic, and old wounds, something pure is born. The purest thing love has to offer. Stay with me now, because we're approaching the deepest signs of a love that can no longer hide. And when all these signs intertwine, when you look back and realize that this man has changed without noticing it, when his actions, his silence, his simplest gestures speak louder than any word, then you recognize the most important thing. True love doesn't always appear in spectacular ways. It doesn't necessarily reveal itself through grand gestures or perfect explanations. Sometimes it comes in the form of consistency, of quiet care, of tenderness that needs no witnesses. And when a man is more in love with you than he himself believes, his soul has already made a decision that his mind is only beginning to understand. Jung taught, the unconscious does not lie. In the depths of our being lives a truth that reveals itself through symbols, emotions, and actions. Even when we don't fully understand them, they are still real. And when you recognize these signs, when you feel this connection, when something inside you says that what's happening between you is not a coincidence, Listen to it. Trust your intuition, because often what we call doubt is merely the mind trying to understand what the soul already knows. And if these words have resonated with you, if you've seen yourself in every line, if you've felt that someone is finally saying what you've long been feeling, then I have a small but powerful request. Share this video. Not for my sake, but for all those who are waiting for a sign, for understanding, for a deeper truth about what they feel. Because true love, the kind that comes from the soul, wants to be understood so that it doesn't get lost in the noise of the world. Write to me in the comments whether you've experienced something like this, whether you recognize these signs in someone. I look forward to reading your words, connecting with you, and continuing to build this space, a place where feelings are respected, where the soul can speak, and where everyone can feel seen. And remember, every share, every comment, every heart helps this message reach exactly the people who need it most. And believe me, out there are many who just need to know that their love is not a mistake, but a sign of deep truth. See you in the next video. But for now, take this with you. If he does all this, don't doubt it. He's much more in love with you than he himself realizes.